Steve, Ryan Day in front of the media on Monday, as you just mentioned to me, the offensive line was one of the main topics, and you got to speak to some representatives of said offensive line. And even though everyone wants to figure out the quarterback battle, there are still some spots to be determined up front that maybe were somewhat assumed at one point during the offseason and may not necessarily be that set in stone.
Yeah, it's a little bit crazy and maybe a slight bit disconcerting. When the preseason began, the thought was that Ethan Anianwa, the transfer from Rice, would be the left tackle and that Austin Sierraveld would be the right tackle. But what we're finding out is that Austin Sierraveld is repping almost exclusively at left tackle. Ethan Anianwa is repping at right tackle and also a little bit at guard. And that Philip Daniels, the transfer from Minnesota, just the sophomore eligibility wise, is really pushing to perhaps start at right tackle. So a little bit of a shakeup there. And I don't know if it's something to reflect on Ethan Anianwa or if one of the guards has been out and they just feel like he gives them the best shot at guard if one of the guards has been out. I noticed that Tegra Hashbola was with some of the injured players the other day when we were heading into interviews. They're in an area where you can readily see it. I mean, most everything is behind closed doors, but that one bit, if you park in the back of the facility, you can see that a few guys are working out on the side. So maybe that's what that's all about. I can't speak to that. That really wasn't addressed yesterday at the offensive line interviews, but I'm not sure exactly what's going on there, but I'm sure it will all shake out over the next 17 days. And, as Coach Day said, they want to form the two deep coming up, in the next few days. So maybe after the scrimmage on Saturday, they will have a much better idea of how that's going to look.
Tony showing up for us, of course. Tony Gerderman, Buckeye Huddle, and the Buckeye Weekly podcast. We're talking offensive line.
What'd you learn yesterday from being there with everybody with the offensive line people?
Oh, you're on mute.
You're muted.
We still don't have you. Don't know what the issue is. You're not muted here. So while the chat eagerly awaits with bated breath, hanging on every word, Steve, you're going to have to fill in.
Log back in, yeah. That's probably the big thing. I think the three interior spots everybody knows with Carson Hinsman at center, Luke Montgomery at left guard, and we assume Tegra Shabola there at right guard. But, I guess until Coach Day or Coach Bowen comes out and says definitively this is going to be left to right our offensive line, we'll have to see. And it's always a possibility. In the championship run last year, they basically had 6 starters and they alternated some guys in a couple of those playoff games as well by series. So it looked like they rotated the 3 guards quite a bit, although Shabola, I think, ended up playing quite a bit more than Montgomery or Sierraveld did during the playoffs. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how it all works out. They got to get the best 5 guys there. And with such young quarterbacks, with Lincoln Kienholz and Julian Sayin, you've got to have an airtight offensive line that, 1, provides you with the run blocking that you need, and 2, definitely provides you with the pass protection that you have to keep a clean pocket so those guys can operate and get the ball out in space to the great playmakers that this team has. So, again, they're going to continue working on it through Saturday's scrimmage, take Sunday off. And as Coach Day said, with it being Texas in the opening game on August the 30th, and Texas is number 1 nationally, Ohio State number 3 in the AP poll, they'll probably start on game prep early next week and have a full 12-day run-up to that big game with Texas, and you can't deny them that opportunity, obviously, or fault them for wanting to overly prepare for what's coming on August the 30th.
Because for me, Steve, the two things that stood out about the offensive line and what's been reported just in recent days, and you alluded to one, would be Onyanwa, since he arrived back in the spring, being pretty much tabbed as boom, set it, forget it, left tackle, that's our guy. And then the other one is the emergence of the original Minnesota transfer from the previous season that didn't really make much headway last year of Philip Daniels, that he's been impressive in camp, and he may be earning more playing time than we anticipated.
Yeah, I had one of the running backs say that earlier in the week that Philip Daniels is a, quote, dog. So I think that they like his tenacity. He brings some anger and some spirit perhaps to that offensive line, and that's always a good thing, certainly as long as you play within yourself emotionally. But I think we've got to get into this, and the coaches have everything that they need to make these decisions. It's not something where me, after seeing 3 practices a week or two ago, can sit here and say, oh, definitively this guy is better than that guy, because I haven't been at practice the last week and a half. They haven't had any observers at practice. They did have a family day and former player day back on Monday, and we arrived for the interviews after practice, and the parking lot was full, much to the dismay of all of the media. But eventually we were able to park our cars and get in there. But, that was nice that the families of the players could come in for one day, and a lot of the former players were milling around as well. And that's a strong show of support for this team as they get ready to move into what could be another great season.
Robert, thank you so much for the super chat contribution. Appreciate that. Have a great show, gentlemen. We shall. It's made a little bit better by you, Robert. So thank you for being here. And Ryan Dawes, the Rod Farva, and other favorites in the chat. And speaking of favorites, maybe we should make this a permanent fixture of the show where Tony arrives like 10 minutes late so everyone can just anticipate the arrival.
No, let's not do that. Can you hear me? I apologize for that one. I was dealing with a crazy cat, and the last thing he did before I threw him out of the room was hit the microphone button on my keyboard, and I didn't realize it until after I was rebooting. So I did want to touch on something that Rod Farva asked about, is the Philip Daniels thing more about him improving or Ethan Onyanwa regressing? I think one thing to keep in mind is that Philip Daniels has also apparently moved past Ian Moore. So when it was looking like Ian Moore was going to be the number 3 tackle in the spring and early on in fall camp, then you've got Daniels not just passing Onyanwa as the right tackle, but also passing Ian Moore apparently as the number 3 or as the number 2 tackle, basically. So like he's jumped 2 guys in this. So I don't think you can just put it on the poor play of other players. I think it's okay to credit Daniels. And talking to him this time, the first time we talked to him back in the spring, it was almost like, he was a little bit in awe of being at Ohio State. And then you talk to him now and he feels like he can play, and he's got the attitude that you like. He's I think he talked twice about killing guys on the defensive line and getting after him. So he's got that attitude that you like. So I think it's okay to credit what Philip Daniels has done, as opposed to like, oh no, the other 2 guys aren't doing it, because I think they're doing well enough. And now at this point, you're just finding out what else can Ethan Onyanwa do. Is now it becomes him versus Tegro Shibola maybe at right guard. But this will be the week where they finally get everything finalized in terms of where guys are after this scrimmage, and then they'll start moving forward to Texas.
Appreciate you all being here at the Voice of College Football. We've got a date with Phil Steele live at 1 p.m. Eastern Time over on the main channel. It's on the ticker down below. So join us, Phil Steele, for about a half hour, 1 p.m. Eastern Time. And I've got to record with Isaiah Hull of Wolverines Wire and Wolverines Locked On coming up right after this show. And so be looking out for that to be posted here very soon.